Yo, it's me, Pops Fan Marmalade, and you're watching the Comics-Related Madness Network. Uh-huh. So come get some. CromCon. CromCon.
And Marmalade made his stunning debut, or return rather, to the screen yesterday, interviewing Roland Mann. But he's taking a break tonight. I am back. I am RJ Carter, Senior Managing Editor here at CriticalBlast.com, Chief Envelope Licker for Critical Blast Logistics, myopic proofreader for Critical Blast Publishing, and I will help you out over the phone or on a stream with your data issues with my 35 years of IT experience with Critical Blast Consulting, figuring out your crowdfunding data. Tonight, we have with us the man with the cure for the common comic. The doctor is in, Doc Blalock. Doc, how are you, man?
I'm good. The doctor is in. I am the only podcaster guaranteed not to rust, bust, collect dust, kink, stink, turn pink, or right out. Seems rainy season for 90 days or your money gladly refunded. If I ain't got it, I'll get it. When I get it, I'll funk it, ram it, jam it, damn it, pack it up, take it out to your car.
You win.
That's all I got.
I've been saying mine for so long that it just rolls right off now. But yeah, you win.
Yeah. All right, I'm out.
Oh, well, we're done. Okay, thanks for coming, guys. Yeah, we talked about this before the show. It's like, hey, what are we doing? This because I know Doc as a panelist on comic shows, and Doc knows me as a panelist from comic shows. I don't know you as a comic book creator that well, so I don't know what your history is. I don't know where you come from in this part of your life.
Well, I actually started doing comics professionally in the early 90s in the small press. I was working on my master's degree and had something to do with needing to make more money. And I thought, well, I've always loved comic books. I can draw. I'll do that. So I got on with some small companies, Fusion Press, Pocket Change, some of those other fly-by-night places. And it was fun. It was a good experience. But I left it behind because life got busy. But I've always done art. I've been making art professionally since I was 16. I'm a fine art painter, landscape painter. And when the world ended, RJ, with the shutdowns.
3 years ago, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't give a painting away. I mean, the market just dried up. Hi, Woody. Hello, Mike. So I was lamenting one day about it. And I'd gotten canceled, RJ.
You got canceled?
By the fine art community here. Let me tell you that story real quick. I don't tell this one often.
Yes.
So, I'm local here, South Atlanta. My work is selling really well. And I like to share success with others. So I started a art association. And it took off. And it was doing great. Then I negotiated with the city and I got a second Saturday art walk going where artists could show up, set up on the sidewalk, sell their art. No permit, no taxes, no nothing. Second Saturday of every month. That wasn't enough for me. So then I stood up a fine art gallery. I found the building. I named it. I designed the business plan and I curated it until it got up on its feet. A couple of people I knew were the partners. And so everything was going great. And then I stepped back from curating because you're up on your feet now. And then I get a call from a blue-haired land whale.
Oh, no.
I am toxic.
Kind.
I am toxic. I'm being a gatekeeper. I'm horrible for the art movement that I started. And they're demanding that I step down. They took over the Facebook group, this, that, and the other. So
what'd you do?
Well, apparently telling people that they couldn't wipe their butt with a canvas, frame it, and call it art was being a gatekeeper.
Well,
said,
we have to keep the gates. There are barbarians at them.
There are barbarians at the gates. So right about then, this was part of one of the partners at the gallery was doing a hostile takeover on the other one, just by bullying and intimidation and whatever. Well, they were in breach of contract with me because my payment for all the work I did in standing at that gallery was, you can show here for free forever. And I wasn't going to do that. I was like, I'll stay up for a while. And found out they took my art down, put it in trash bags in their leaky ass basement. So I got with the good partner. We'll say good partner, bad partner. I got with the good partner. We went to go see a lawyer, and he said, yeah, you guys have standing and you'll probably win this easily. Of course, it's going to cost you $12,500 just to file the case. I'm like, oh, well, that's groovy. So we actually had a plan of attack. I would file first because mine's the easiest. Breach of contract. I had a black and white contract, and then I would take my award settlement and I would pay for her attorney, the good partner, to sue the bad partner and slam dunk her. Well, right about then the world ended.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't have to lift a finger. The gallery went out of business. The art walk stopped permanently, and the art association is now defunct. So, you reap what you sow, boys and girls.
Yeah. Yep. You kind of got pushed out of the burning building just in time there.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Now, to bring it full circle, I had stumbled across Ethan's channel once or twice. I saw one where he was shopping at Hobby Lobby or Michael's or whatever to get all you need to make a comic book. And I just got tickled. I was like, yeah, I remember doing that back in the day. Ha ha ha. So then I tuned in one day and he was live streaming. So I sent a little $2 super chat. And all I said was, excuse me. I said, I wish there was something like Comicsgate for fine artists because I've been canceled too. And then he said something and he wanted, so I shared my link. He went to my website, looked at my fine art, and it was, Artie Bear was there, and Billy Tucci was there.
Oh, good. Good.
And they oohed and they awed over my artwork. And Ethan said, man, brother, I don't really know what to tell you, man. Do a comic book. And I went, Fred, I know how to do those. So here I is.
Yes. And you've been, I've seen your video for it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Cause we used to have the old trailer
right
running on the channel. We've got a new video. It's a minute and a half.
Mm-hmm.
But when are you going to actually launch the thing?
We're looking at the end of February, launching the campaign.
Okay. That's coming.
The book is huge. So we decided Anthony Romano is my publisher at Dark Gift. And we got together and we decided it would just be cost prohibitive with the economy in the toilet like it is right now to publish the whole thing at once. So we're going to break it into 3 parts. So what I'm doing right now is I've got a grand total of about 12 more pages I need to do as an edit to make 3 story arcs instead of 1 big one. And I've got 5 of those 12 done as of today. So the other 22 or however many are with Anthony. We're lettering that. The script is done. And so, yeah, we're going to launch the campaign into February. And I'm excited.
Was it like, riding a bike, getting back on the comics wagon?
The drawing part, yes. Now, back when I did comics back in the day, RJ, I had an inker. I actually had several inkers. And I remember all of them. There was Jeff Priester, Glenn Anderson, and Merle Fager, and they were all great. And I loved working with those guys. And, when you're doing a monthly, the time crunch is incredible. So I got to where I could pencil 2.5 pages a day and then get them out the door. And then the next script arrives and you start all over. Well, my inkers were just as fast as I was. What doesn't translate is I'm not an inker. So I can still draw 2.5 pages a day, but I can't damn ink no 2.5 a day. So now, it slowed way the hell down with me inking.
Is it really necessary though? I mean, and I've had this conversation with inkers a couple of years back, because, you inked it because you had to have the machine had to pick it up.
Yes.
And now the machines are so sensitive.
That's right.
That, they can pick up the pencils.
Originally, RJ, we must have been reading each other's minds back then because I thought the same thought. And I said, well, I'm one hell of a penciler and charcoal and ebonies and all that stuff. So I did do a couple of pages that were just that, and they look great. But then I got to thinking about colorists and if I wanted to go to color later and this, that, and the other. So I said, let me just try inking. So I did, and it wasn't terrible. And then the inking got better and better and better. And I'm getting better at it. But I'm not getting faster.
Yeah.
So having said that, I contacted one of my old inkers and I said, hey, you ever get the Earls to jump back in the game? And he goes, who said I ever left? I was like, oh. So we're going to get together this weekend on StreamYard in the backstage, and we're going to work something out.
And back together.
Yeah, getting the band back together, boys. I would much rather ship out 38 pages to New York and then forget about it, knowing my man is going to do what he used to do and just put that magic on there for me.
I just see you walking into a diner looking for him and ordering 4 whole fried chickens and a Coke.
And you better believe it. You better believe it. The guy.
No, it's 4 fried chickens and a Coke, and the waitress says 4 whole fried chickens and a Coke.
I want very much to have this guy's inks on my work again because he's really good. And I've also talked to Rich Perotta, about inking.
Yeah.
And he said, yeah, sure, I'd be glad to. So, those options are there. So the next time I do a book, Perotta is going to be all me, everything except for the lettering. Anthony's doing that for me, but I wrote it. I'm scripting it. I'm penciling it. I'm inking. And I'm excuse me, I'm doing all that. 1, because I said I would. And 2, because I just really want the experience of doing the whole damn thing just once and saying, this is all me. The good, the bad, the ugly, whatever, it's me.
Well, here's what I've learned working with a penciler who's also the inker. It's easier to fix it in the first phase than it is in the second.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I got lucky. I'm doing a story for an anthology, and I'm using the clock, an old the first American masked hero in comics.
Yes.
I know that technically it's the Phantom, but
Mm-hmm.
he was published in the UK. This one's our American boy. But the artist is in Brazil, Mark Oliver, and I just looked at the pencil like, oh, this is gorgeous. Yes, go ink it. And then he inked it, and I'm like, it's still gorgeous. Oh shit, the steering wheels are on the wrong sides of the cars. Because they are. It's like, but fortunately, both the shots where that happened, I was like, we can just flip that panel around and we're good.
I did one.
There were no words on it yet.
Pops actually caught it. My main character, and I'll tell the story here in a minute. It's a plot summary, but basically, she's casting a spell at the golem, and the golem's eyes are reflective, and you see her reflection in his eyes, and I don't have it reflected.
Oh, you got the same.
Yeah, same thing.
Same
Just flip it.
That's
hey, Charles.
Okay, you know the video that I played at the beginning with our little jingle and theme song with the spotlight and all that.
Yeah.
I don't call it a bat signal because there's trademarks involved on that.
Right.
That was a Fiverr job, and I saw that they had done this for like different companies. And it's like, hey, we'll put Bob's Autos on the light, and it's a Bob's Autos on the sky. I'm like, can I send you 2 images and do it? And they're like, yeah, but why? I was like, because I want the backwards one on the spotlight and the regular one on the cloud. Okay, but because that's how it works.
Yes.
It would bug the shit out of me if it was going the other way.
And by the way, it's true because I said it backstage with nobody listening. I think you've got the best lead in out there. And I know I enjoy making those things, but mine are just chopping up pop culture stuff and putting them all together. Yours is great.
I just pay somebody. I'm like, I like what you do. How much?
Yeah.
So it's actually a collage because the video was done by somebody who put a public or a copyright, royalty-free music on it, which apparently wasn't royalty-free to the band in the Middle East that did the song and performed it. So I hired a jingle writer. I'm like, look, here's the video muted. Whatever you do, make it hit the beats. And she sent it back with the beats. And I just like overlaid it on the video. It's like new product. So now it's just Universal Music Group and their predatory asses hitting me on Facebook all the time, which is why I won't stream to Facebook anymore. I don't do it.
We both have been there recently, haven't we?
Yeah. I don't get any ads for Facebook. It doesn't help me any at all. So it's easier to quit. But I'm getting notices every single day from Universal Music Group that video I did 2.5 years ago is in violation of their copyright because of that Critical Blast song. I'm like, I had the same response every time. Big capital letters, pursuant to the Digital Millennium Copyright Act of 1998. It is unlawful to knowingly file a false copyright claim. Since you have admitted on 78 and counting now that this is my material because you've always returned it to me, you are now engaged in harassment, and you can expect to hear from my fictional attorney. I would love to take them to court and just shut them up because, again, I'm a vindictive SOB that way.
Now, I enjoyed...
I have to chime in on that real quick. I fight every single one on Facebook. I dispute every single one with things like la 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 and leave me alone, you scammers. And I win every dispute. I win every dispute.
Yeah, but you know what? By the time you win the dispute, it's like 4 days later, and it's no longer a relevant video.
But that's okay. They don't mute anything. They don't have a chance to do anything with it. It's like, they're just trying to get the monetary value out of it. If there ever gets to that point, it's too late.
When does it ever get to monetary value on Facebook for the creator?
That's what I'm saying. It's like they're wasting their time. So I just la 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 la.
Facebook called one of my paintings of sunflowers sexual content, and they flagged it, would not let me share it.
The sunflower,
like a Virginia O'Keeffe knockoff.
Sunflowers, sexual content, and where the dispute page was back then, I don't know how it is now. There's only 2 fields on it. What's the item and what's the thing? So I said, I clicked the item. Here it is. They're fucking flowers.
Yeah.
That's it. And,
I could see some Georgia O'Keeffe flower paintings maybe triggering some people, but all that yonic imagery she would throw in there.
But I was going to say, when we're talking about making the trailers, when I made the trailer for what shares everybody, peach tea for me. When I made the trailer that we're going to look at here in a little bit, the first part is music that I wrote probably a decade ago. And I recorded it with my son, who is an amazing musician, and he owns a studio. But he is hard to get with because of time constraints, So we went up one day and we recorded just a couple hours. Got the first part, and for the second part, I knew what I wanted. And it was a song by some friends of mine from back in the late 80s. And the song is actually called Self-Righteous Bastards. And it's a thrash song. The lead singer is now dead, but the bass player and I are still friends. And it turns out that's one of the ones he wrote. So he gave me permission to use it. I chopped it up, put it together, sent it to him for his final approval. He said, "Yeah, man, that's cool," because that's how musicians talk, So first part I did, second part some friends of mine did. And I think I made sure I wrote in the same key so it all went together. And then Anthony did a pretty good job of remixing the sound to balance it out, so it worked out.
Great video. I told Doc, I said, put it in all the studios. Every studio I go in, every show I go in, it's not there, Doc.
Because
it's in this one.
Because I only have admin privileges for like 5 minutes.
You've had them all day. I gave it to you hours ago. I said,
I've been working all day. I have no way of knowing.
I found out it wasn't in another studio.
Anything done today doesn't count.
What did you do Saturday all day when you had admin right?
I know, right? Good help is so hard to find.
It is hard to find. There I am, not a promoter, not really a broadcaster, a creator creating the product. I'm getting, you need to do this on the StreamYard. I'm like,
well, I want to play your video. That's all. I can't play it if it's not in the studio I'm in.
I agree with that. So let's play that.
Let's roll that beautiful footage again. Here it is.
That's some good music. Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, I was getting into that.
I don't understand the word my man is saying, except
Well,
for there's one that says, "Your denial ensures our survival. Bring your legions down around you. Accept the things you cannot change in the darkness that's inside you." And that's, of course, part of it. That's why I wanted that, because it's kind of fits her, the main character, Elizabeth.
it's more intelligible than something by Guar.
You know, and keep in mind this was this was when thrash was first being born. So they were pioneers. The band is called Damage, DAMNAGE. You can find them on YouTube. Both of their albums are up. Give them a listen. Some old friends of mine from back in the day.
So this has got a nice, like a nice, nice "I spit on your grave" kind of quality to it. Remember that one?
I do, and a lot of folks are more familiar with that than the actual inspiration for it. So I lean into that. If you like "I Spit on Your Grave," which is basically a revenge story, cool. But it's actually, I was inspired by Tom Clancy's book, Without Remorse. Not that abortion movie they made a little while ago that had nothing in common with the book. Okay. In that book, just a short version, this drug dealing gang makes the mistake of murdering somebody that a Navy SEAL loves. And a very creative series of killings begin to take place across the city of drug people. And I mean, it is the most intense book of revenge I have ever read in my life. Makes the Punisher look like a pussy. No offense, Mike Barrett. Love you, Mike. But anyway, I was kind of inspired by that. So I was sitting and I was thinking, at first I was just going to do a superhero book because I've got several properties I've created. They've been trademarked and copyrighted for decades. And I thought, well, I'll just bring that forward. But then I had a hankering to do something different. So the story is basically Elizabeth Payne is a beautiful young lady. She's left the small town for the big city, blah, blah, blah. She's working at a club. She gets shorted on her check and they tell her, we'll go upstairs and see the boss. He'll straighten it out for you. They take good care of you around here. She goes up and discovers that the boss is actually the mob, and she witnesses a mob hit. She goes into protective custody. They find her. She's sexually assaulted, beaten, throat slit, left for dead. But what they didn't know was that she's descended from one of the oldest lineages of powerful witches on the planet.
Did she know that before she got all that?
She knew her mother had some abilities, but she did that typical thing of bucking against the parents and leaving. Well, now her parents are dead and only her grandfather is left. Granddad senses what has happened to her, and he creates a big mud golem out of the good old swamp mud of the beautiful South Carolina low country. In the book, it looks like the bayou, and if you want to call it the bayou, that's fine. It's not. They look the same, South Carolina, Louisiana. And the golem rescues her, brings her home. He heals her. And at first, all she wants to do is just stay there. She's never going back. I mean, she's got PTSD behind this shit. And what's up, Max?
Hey, Max.
And, some gangsters come down because they want to verify the kills. Like, the body's not where we left it. So they find out where she's from, and they send a couple of mobsters down, knock on the door. The old man meets them. No, she moved away years ago, whatever. And they're like, okay, well, they go park up at the top of the driveway just to make sure they're watching the house. And he sends the golem up there, and those mobsters are never seen again. That decides her. She wants to learn they call it the art. She wants to learn the art. And so Granddad starts teaching her. And the one impossible thing that you shouldn't be able to do is co-opt another witch's spell. Well, he created the golem, and she says, I want that thing around all the time, so if I'm in trouble, I can just get him. And he says, you can't do that. Eventually, you can make one of your own. And she's like, the hell you say? So she goes in the barn where this thing's just standing in the corner, and she struggles and struggles, and she does co-op it. And he's like, the grandfather's like, damn, man, that's not supposed to be possible.
There's a guy in St. Louis. He had an afternoon talk show. I assume he still does. Dave Glover. And he always would get on, he'd do the Halloween show every year. He would go to the Exorcist house on Soulard. And broadcast from there and do different things. And one day he'd had this regular thing called The Priest and the Rabbi, where he would bring in a priest and a rabbi and they would just talk. But one day he brought in somebody who was the Kabbalah, and he was just, trying to talk to the guy and learn more about the Kabbalah and, what it is that you guys do. What's so special about this that's different from ordinary Judaism. And normally the show was, dick jokes and jackassery. It was that kind of a
right
drive home show.
Right.
And I just happened to be lucky enough to get in on that day with a call in. And I said, I'd like to ask the rabbi, more about the golem, because that's a thing, from the Kabbalah, and how to, is it a story? Is it a fable? Is it something you guys believe in? And they're like, okay, thank you, caller. And he hung up and says, I'm sorry, you have to understand my audience is, used to me doing jokey things, and they don't mean any disrespect. Oh no, that's a real thing. And his whole tone just changed. Why the hell are we talking about this? I want a golem. I want a golem here right now.
The Jewish golem is not the only one. It's actually an Eastern European thing. So the Hungarians have a version, Romanians have a version. The Jewish one is the most well known because it was written out.
If everybody has a version, it kind of makes you think there's something to it.
Well, the Jewish version, there's always the word faithful written onto the skin of the golem somewhere. And to dispel him, only the rabbi that summons him can do it. He wipes off the suffix for faithful, and it makes him faithless, and he dissolves. I'm not doing that because there might be a sequel.
You want to keep them around, sure.
Elizabeth, what I really wanted to focus on in this is not just the revenge, it's the mental struggle. Yes, she starts murdering the mobsters that got her and working her way up, and the city morgue starts filling up with very interesting kills. The police are trying to figure out who this serial killer is, but she is really struggling with her own morality because nothing matters to her except inflicting pain on these people and killing them. She meets a guy and they kind of have a thing, and he's a recurring character in my universe. And she goes to the park. She takes a break from all this madness and she sits in the park and she's watching a mother play with her child. And she goes, I could have that. I could just walk away from all this and I could have that. Nobody can ever hurt me again. I know I'm powerful. And she's like, no, I can't have it. She leaves. The next day, she's going out on her next hunt. She walks by another woman being sexually assaulted in an alley and just pays it no attention. She's not a hero. She is not a hero. She is obsessed. And there is a huge twist at the end of the book that only 4 people know, and all 4 have had a jaw drop when I tell them how it actually ends. So really looking forward to getting this one out there, RJ.
Well, people are going to be able to. It was here. It was in the stream. The sign up page was in the stream. Now it's gone. I was going to show the sign up page. It disappeared, but it will be launching in February, and we'll have you back. There it is. Okay. Thank you, Pops. There's nothing really to show anyway. It's a sign up screen.
Yeah, sign up sheets are not the same as campaign sheets. Just go watch the video, sign up. Right now, I think we're over 100 sign ups on it. I'd love to get that number up as high as possible. I haven't really been hammered this thing hard. I've just been having fun in the community and talking about other people's work and trying to be a nice person because I am a nice person. Remember the story about lifting the whole community and then getting backstabbed? I'm trying to do the same thing, but this time I'm watching my back.
I see you got some Kevlar. You got a Kevlar vest on?
Got some armor back there right now.
Okay.
But the interesting thing for me was designing. The story was one thing. I'm a writer and an artist, so I have to separate my brain a little bit. And, not physically, because that would be gross, RJ. Split it in the middle.
Depends on how you do it.
So we need
one solid cleave
in the middle. In designing Elizabeth, I decided I wanted her to dress like Stevie Nicks, kinda. I wanted her face models were a combination of Alana Miles when she was young, Jennifer Connelly when she's young, and a woman whose name I cannot pronounce, but she was Miss Universe, and she was from either Uzbekistan or Ukraine. I don't remember which, a few years ago. And they all have kind of a similar dusky gypsy look, So, and then the body model is someone else entirely. So I wanted to bring all those together, and it's been fun doing that amalgam and creating her.
You just plugged all 4 names in the Mid-Journey, and so no, I'm just kidding.
I'm
kidding.
What he said, you can always tell the pioneers are the ones with the arrows in their backs. Darn right, baby. The good guys are always the ones that get backstabbed. But like I said at the beginning, man, you reap what you sow. It'll come back on you. Wiped out that gallery, wiped out the art association, and I'm still standing.
Still making art. Now you talk about, you made art before, cranked it out every month. It's different in this environment. I had Carl Kiesel on last year, and he was doing the 3rd book of his Impossible Jones series, the Impossible Team Ups rather. And I asked him, I was like, you're from the industry. Your artist and colorist are from the industry. You had to do not 1 book a month. You're probably doing 2 or 3 books a month.
Mm-hmm.
So why is it 6 or 7 months now for a book? What happened? And it's, I'm the accountant. This is a part-time job. I'm not getting a paycheck for doing this 8 hours, 9 hours, 10 hours a day now.
Well, I'm retired as a counselor.
You got no excuse then.
So I have the time, but what occurred to me as I was doing it at my normal pace was that I really want to take my time, and the goal is to make every page as good as I can possibly make it. Back in the day, it's not that you weren't doing the best work you could. You were doing the best work you could against a deadline.
Yeah.
If I remove that deadline, and I made 2 promises. One was that I'd finish the thing, and the other one was I will not launch the campaign until everything I can do is done. Because no one's going to have to wait because of me. Now, I have no control over printers issues, or if, a hurricane comes in and blows the whole continent away, that ain't on me. But as far as everything I can do, I wanted it done. So I took my time, and when we decided to break it, I was like, okay, let me do a few pages to expand 2 scenes that'll give it a nice little arc, and we'll be good. And Anthony was on board with that, and he helped me brainstorm through some stuff, and I really appreciated the feedback. And so now we've got a product that's going to really kick ass. Hopefully going to have an alternate cover by the great Jim O'Reilly. On the book.
Did he embrace?
Oh, he's amazing.
So you broke this down into 3 books, you said, I believe?
Yeah.
So do you have all, for your part, do you have all 3 of the books done, or you just have the first third done?
Well, all of them are now going to require some editing to make those 3 humps. You can't just have the 1 hump and chop it into 3.
Yeah.
So they're as done as I can make them, but I have to edit some scenes. I got to expand some, reduce others. But yeah, it's pretty much in the bag. There's a big old stack of Bristol board somewhere in the house that weighs more than it should.
The old traditional method.
Yes. Because I didn't know no better. I didn't even know there was digital. Then I'm seeing people like Dillard draws, and he's working digital, and my face is melting because Control Z looks beautiful to me instead of redrawing a panel and gluing it on because you screwed up the panel.
Yes. And especially if it's like on another layer. Well, I just did on this layer. Everything else is still here. I can take this off and just move them up.
Exactly. So I would like to try that. I'm gonna try to up my game here in the new year. Get a new computer because mine's too weak to run anything after the lightning hit it. So I'd like to get a tablet and a stylus and some good software and do some digital work. See if I can learn how to do it.
Yeah, I remember when digital coloring was becoming a thing. I was working my first job, maybe my second, same place, same Air Force base. So, might as well be the same job.
Mm-hmm.
One of the airmen was also doing independent comics, coloring for a guy. And he was really good at it. He's good. He was a good artist too. But I would watch him, put in, look, it's a lens flare. That's when lens flares were cool. Up until the point where it's like, oh God, it's a lens flare.
If you do it right, they're still good.
Yeah. But he would do all of that. He was doing it for the guy, the artist, the writer was in the next town over. So, I mean, this was literally indie. This was the guy's living room stuff.
Yeah.
The two books he did were called SOB and TAP. And if you can find either one of them, I can't remember the name of the press anymore. I have copies of it at my other home in my boxes of comics that are not with me. I should find them sometime and bring them on the show. But when he had all the coloring done, and what kicked me off on this was you talking about that heavy stack of Bristol board. He had a crate that had all the zip drives in it. These zip drives looked like a square 8-track tape.
Yeah.
And it's like each one had a page on it because it took so much memory to color a page.
Wow.
So, 32 page comic. Here's 32 zip drives. Take these and go to print.
Man. And now you can grab a little thumb drive and put a terabyte on it,
Yeah, exactly. You can put DC Comics library on a thumb drive.
One little thumb drive. I was having fits with the whole technology part of this. I took the first pages to go get them scanned. And, I was told by people that know what they're doing, 600 DPI TIFF, right?
Yep.
And I took them and I got them scanned. They looked terrible. The scans looked awful. They didn't look like the pages. They were all pixelated and blah, 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 blah. And I don't know what was going wrong, but I was talking to Anthony and he said, bro, just mail them to me. I'll scan them. I'm like, all right. So I did. And they look fine now. So this is a professional printing company. I don't know what the problem was, but I do know the lady there, she's about my age and she's a very sweet lady. And she said, well, what's the story here? And I said, she's just an ordinary girl. And she held up a picture of Elizabeth, her buxom self. And she goes, there's nothing ordinary about this girl. You're right.
No, you figured it out. She's a witch.
Yes. And she's a good witch. Now,
this is like Death Wish with a witch. It's Death Witch.
Mike asked an interesting question, as he can do from time to time.
Yes, he can. I don't know where he asked it because I'm not. I didn't see it.
I'm going to repeat that question, not here in the chat. He asked it a couple of months ago.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to more fully answer it. By the way, Crazy Comic Collector in the chat is a writer or was a writer for some of the same small press I worked with back in the day. And he and I have been best friends for 30 some odd years. Anyway, the question was, he said, hey, Doc, you don't make any secret of the fact that you're a Christian, but you're doing a book about a witch and the Bible's not real keen on witchcraft. So there's two different answers for, how can I do this? Well, the first answer is here in the real world, I'm a writer just writing fiction because I promise you, if the Apostle Paul saw Superman, he would call that witchcraft. Okay.
Sure.
This dude's flying. He's doing all this. So it's just fiction. But he hit on something that I actually address in the book that's kind of a big deal. And so to get the other part, the in-universe answer to that question, you're going to have to buy the book and read it.
You remind me of something else that happened in my life. Because I was playing Dungeons and Dragons back during the Satanic Panic.
Yes.
And my parents were raising me as well as a United Pentecostal.
Oh. Where every sin will send you straight to hell.
Yes. Going to the movie to see Superman was going to send you to hell.
Yes, you're going to hell.
At the same time, I also had the DC superheroes role-playing game. So, but I wasn't ever really playing it a whole lot because I was the only comic geek in town.
Right.
Driving Metropolis of 900 people, that was me, which was stupid because the next town over is where every comic book in the world was printed in Sparta, Illinois, for like decades. But she got real worried about me playing this Dungeons and Dragons. I'm like, okay, let me lay it out for you. I brought my buddy Bruce over and we sat down and said, real quick game here. I enter the dungeon. You see a dragon. I cast a fireball spell. Roll the dice. You rolled an 18 natural. The dragon is obliterated. Yay. She's like, yeah, you cast a spell. I'm like, okay, set this aside. Opened up the DC role-playing game. It's like, okay, I fly through the canyon. You encounter an alien dinosaur. I throw my heat vision at it. The thing evaporates. Yay! Like, what did I do different? I said I was Superman instead of a wizard. I used a non-existent superpower instead of a non-existent magic spell. She's like, okay.
I didn't cast a spell. I rolled a die.
Yeah. By the way, there was no dragon.
Yes, exactly. All of this is fiction. It's just storytelling. That's all it is. Role-playing games are just impromptu storytelling sessions. All they are. Thought games. And I got nothing against it. Coming up, and I am a Christian and I am a devout believer. I'm not devout in my practice all the time, and I should be, but I'm not. But I'm not Pentecostal, so I'm not going to hell for that.
I'm going to hell for watching this live stream.
But, I would read The Scarlet Witch and I would read Doctor Strange. And I remember during the Korvac saga.
I'm sorry, RJ. I'm sorry, bro.
What just happened?
He apologized for me going to hell for watching my own live stream because it's television.
I was reading the Korvac saga, and Thor is walking with the Avengers into a church, and the Scarlet Witch says to him, why are you so antsy or something like that? And he's like, it's a bit uncomfortable for me as a god to walk into the sanctum of another god. And,
yeah.
As a young kid reading this, I thought, I'm going to hell for this one. But,
Oh, do you remember when they did when Marvel Comics got sued over the Doctor Strange issue? Because the cover artist thought it would be a good idea to steal the album cover art for Christian artist Amy Grant.
Oh, it seems like I do remember this.
And it was like, that was her image in the background, just full face. And then Doctor Strange doing whatever in the foreground. And they're like, yeah, okay. First of all, you got your natural trademark dispute. Second of all, I'm a Christian singer and you just put me on a sorcery book.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That was not
the smartest move in the world.
That was not a recipe for success at all. Of course, I remember Tiffany and who was the other one? Anyway, they both turned 50 and they posed for Playboy.
Debbie Gibson was the one I think was contemporary to Tiffany.
Yeah.
I had plenty of respect for Debbie Gibson because she was 16 years old and writing and producing all her own stuff. It still is.
Yep. I didn't listen to it. I respected it. I always respect real musicians who write their own stuff. I don't care what genre it is. I might not like it, but I respect it.
She made her money young, lived a life easy afterwards. That's the way to do it.
I was watching, what was that movie? My wife was watching a movie, Bridget Jones' Diary. And
I'm sorry.
It's a funny movie. But one of her friends in there is a guy who he was a one-hit wonder in the 80s. And he's just living off of it now, all the way through the 90s. That's it. He never, no intentions to record anything else. And it was Hugh Grant playing him, I think. No, it wasn't Hugh Grant. It was the guy who played Baltar in Battlestar Galactica. Played that guy. But anyway, it was a brilliant line. No intentions to recording anything else. And her narration says he discovered that one hit was enough to pay him and get him laid for all of the 90s.
Yeah. All he needed was one.
Yeah.
What's the line? If you're at a convention and you got a piece of original artwork and you got prints of it for $1 million, you only need to sell one.
That's right. That's right.
You can quit after that.
One bestseller is all it takes. So yeah, this has been an interesting experience, and I did tell several people this on and I'll say it here. That glasses got a spot that won't come off, and they're new. I am a fine art painter. I'm a landscape painter, and that is my first love. I'm a plein air impressionist. That means I go out and I stand where I paint. I paint what's in front of me. In the wintertime, though, I'm old, so now I work in the studio in the winter when I'm painting. When I get these last pages out to Anthony, I'm not picking up a pencil again for at least 3 or 4 months. I'm going to paint my ass off because I miss it.
Okay, so let me ask you this, because I have my best friend is a fine artist, Troy Reiser. TroyReiser.com. You see his fine art right there. And he does all kinds of different mediums. I mean, he's doing gouache color studies. I've got some of his prints on the wall up here that he was doing with Linocut. I was like, what's Linocut? And he explained, like, well, you take linoleum and you cut into it and then you make it a black and then you dip it in ink and then you print it and it's good for like 7 or 8 copies. I'm like, who thought of pulling up their bathroom tile and making art? But it's a thing. You can buy the linoleum blocks at Hobby Lobby specifically for carving into.
Yeah, and you don't even need that. You can literally just get plain old floor linoleum and use it.
Yeah, but he at one time had an interest in a comic, and we're going back 30 years ago now. That's how long we've known each other. But he was doing a comic called Blackbird, and I loved it. And he was not doing pencils on Bristol board. He was doing scratch board, black, solid black, and then he was scratching everything into it. Looked gorgeous. I know he doesn't have the pages anymore. And it was, early 90s, almost impossible to, really break into the market if you're not a printer. But since you love painting so much, why pencil your comics?
I have an answer to that question. Stand by.
This is the point where I would normally go to my brand tab and find some videos and just play something worth playing. But before I did that, he came back.
I paint with this, and this is my smallest that I use. 1-inch bright natural bristle. I hold it back here. I stand at arm's length. And I paint fast. I can do a painting faster than you can draw a stick man. I cannot translate that to this.
Well, no, you don't have to. Just paint and then reduce.
No. I am far too heavy-handed. There's no detail. I don't put people in my paintings. If I do, it's just a smear and a shape with a shadow.
That would be hard to tell a story with no people in it. Yes.
Yes.
If there's nothing but happy little squirrels, sorry, Bob Ross.
Yeah, it is actually, by the way, it's weird because I do not like putting anything man-made in my paintings. I don't like putting people in my paintings unless they're just happen to be there in the background or something. You know what I'm saying? And yet the opposite of that is when you're doing a book, it's all people. It's all about the faces and the body and the anatomy and the movement and whatever. So they're polar opposites of each other. You're still using the same art skills in the macro, but the micro is different.
Yeah. Yeah. It's if you try to do a comic book about a tree, it's not going to do a whole lot.
Unless it's Treebeard.
Well, then, yeah.
I can handle that. Which is why, by the way, I love my golem. I mean, he's the favorite thing I draw. And I did do a 10-page story for Rex called Bog, Grave Tales. He's got a swamp monster. And so it was just a hoot, man. I love swamp monsters. Man-Thing is my favorite superhero.
Man-Thing.
Man-Thing.
I was a big Swamp Thing fan, but never got into Man-Thing. And then I found the Heap, and I'm like, oh, you're both just copies.
Yeah, yes. And yeah, the Heap is on my list of stuff to do, by the way. But
well, you're in luck because there's gonna. I think there's gonna be a Heap story coming up soon in this anthology I'm in.
Well, he's public domain, so I'm going for it.
So still go for it. Now, So you said you stand out in front of whatever, and then you just paint. Do you have to see what you're painting, or can you
No, I
paint
can't
without the
do it
vision?
off the top of my head. But as an impressionist, what you're really painting is the light.
Okay, Thomas Kincaid.
No. The original painter of light was Claude Monet.
Yeah.
Claude Monet had an eye defect wherein he could see into the ultraviolet spectrum like a butterfly sees.
Holy cow.
And
it's a superpower.
He got into this huge uproar with Glaze at Glaze Academy, or Glares, depending on how you say it. And he, Renoir, Sicily, and I can never remember that other guy's name, the one that got killed in the war. Anyway, they go out into the woods to paint, and he says famously, "Do not presume to tell me there is no color and shadow when I stand here seeing it for myself." And that was the start of real impressionism, where you're just, it's the effect of light and atmosphere on the subject. It's not necessarily about the subject.
Yeah. Painting, there's a way to paint light that just fascinates me, that I don't get. And I've seen comic book colorists do the same thing. It's like, I know, here's the blank page. This is how white it is.
Mm-hmm.
And yet somehow they can put darkness and shadows and a glare, and the glare hurts the eyes. And I was like, I know it's no brighter than the paper that was behind it. There's not a light bulb shining out of this thing, but they have made me think there's light.
Let me see. I think I can show you a few paintings here.
Yes.
I didn't think I'd be doing this, so I wasn't ready. So bear with me one moment. All right, here we go. We go here, and then I go here. And, not long ago where it says present, it used to just say share screen.
I know, they changed it.
And when they changed it, it has messed my brain up, RJ.
By the way, while we're waiting here, Mike Walters is going to be going live at the top of the next hour. He with the mic stand, going through the niche news of comics, manga, and professional wrestling. They all three go together. And if you catch him on a Friday, that's the really fun day, because that's the comic historical retrospective, where we go back to the golden age. We're moving through the middle of 1939 right now, and we read golden age public domain comics out loud with voices, acting it out, having all kinds of fun. So if you're not familiar with some of the the famous feature funnies, characters, and all that, do check it out on Friday.
Jay, I have learned and watched. All right, so this is an example. Pay particular attention not just to the water, but to the leaves on the ground.
Yep.
Let me do this. All right.
Yeah, it looks like light's hitting the leaves. That's just
all you're doing is you're playing with light. Here, the emphasis is on the tree, the play of light on it. This one was painted at the local reservoir, and there's literally this fishing spot right here at the bottom. There was an older guy there, and he was fishing, and I was painting, and we had a great time talking. And he asked me how much the painting was, and I gave him my real price that I sell for at galleries, because, they sell pretty good. And he was like, "Lord have mercy, they sell for that much." And I said, "Yes, they do." I said, "But I tell you what, if you catch enough fish to share a string of fish with me before I go, I'll give it to you." But the fish weren't biting, so I still have the painting.
Oh, but see, now look, I'm looking at the glare on the water, and my eye is saying that is brighter than the canvas.
Yeah. And this spot on the tree in the background, just a glare right there. But you only have 30 minutes before the light changes. The rule of thumb is you pick a leaf anywhere, and when the light on that leaf changes, you're done. Don't paint anymore. You're chasing the light, and you don't want to chase it.
So you did all of that in 30 minutes?
Mm-hmm. Now, on one like this, I'll go back the next day at the exact same time, because this one was bigger and more detailed.
Okay, because I'm sitting here thinking, if you're doing something with that much detail and color in 30 minutes, the entire comic book industry has a lot to answer for late books.
And interesting here, I don't know if you can see it, but the shadows of the trees are blue. They're not gray. They're not black. They're blue.
I can't see that. But oh, wasn't that Rembrandt's Sea of Galilee painting that was lost for?
No, this is a storm in the Low Country coming over the breakwaters at Hunting Island, and I was stupid enough to stand out and paint in it, but it was too much, and I don't use oil. I'm using acrylic, so I got overwhelmed, and I ran with that one, and I finished it in the studio.
You say you don't want to get the thing wet while you're painting it, but
no. A little moisture is fine, but not wet.
Yeah. Now here's the other thing: clouds don't sit there and wait for you.
That's right; they move.
They're moving away and changing shape as they do it.
The goal in this one was that, yes, there's this beautiful field that was just harvested, but the wind was blowing and the sun was bright. And I wanted to capture the movement of the wind and that light. So not just light, but atmosphere. And then this one, sunrise on our family farm. Every morning during the spring, the sun comes up behind that plum tree and just does that. So I'm like, I got to make that.
You can, I'm looking beyond that tree. I'm seeing that bright light come in. I can almost hear Handel's chorus. And I'm like, how do you make the white whiter than it is? How do you make it hurt the eye? And I love the streaks coming through the tree there too.
Yeah, you gotta have dark to have light. This was a commission I did a few years ago. A lady that lived out in Colorado wanted this scene, and this was one of those where I always, even in the comic book, I pay attention to what my customer wants, and I try to give more. So this one was
a photograph.
And yeah, she sent me several high-res photos. This one was done. And she said, well, I want the trees on the left to be a little bit taller than they really are. So I did that for her. And then she said, these limbs aren't here. She said, can you put some broken limbs hanging down? Yes, I can do that. And then the third one was, can you put some footsteps in the snow? I was like, yes, I can do that. So I make my customer happy. And this one now lives somewhere in Colorado.
See, I'm horrible at that with art. I'll get a commission done and it might, not be what I want. And I'll look at it like, yeah, that's great. Because I don't tell people, I'm like, you did this. I can't imagine how hard it would be to correct it or make it different. I'll go with it. I'm easy that way.
Painting is easy. You can't screw a painting up. You just keep working till it gets right. You can screw up a page of a comic book with one misplaced line.
Yeah.
I'm ashamed of the title of this painting, RJ.
What's the title?
Oak on the Water. I know.
Hey,
I'm deeply ashamed. I'm deeply ashamed.
Liar in the sky there.
But what else could I call it, really? I mean,
Yeah, it's planted tree planted by the water. I mean, come on.
This is my favorite painting. I deliberately didn't sell this one. It was in a show one time, and I quadrupled my price, knowing no one would buy it because I didn't want it to sell. So this one hangs in my house. This was painted in the Low Country of South Carolina on Bay Street, overlooking the Beaufort River and Port Royal Sound on this hazy but bright morning. The horizon was lost. This lone boat is anchored there, and those big, huge, towering clouds are doing their thing. Yeah. I'm like, I got to paint this.
So, okay. So when you see, do you go out with the intention to paint and then you see the thing that you have to paint? Or do you see something, you're like, I have to paint this, and then everybody's got to wait because you pulled over the car and Dad's got his, pulled everything out of the trunk and set up and started painting. Like, we're supposed to be at Walmart.
It's a little bit of both. I'll go scout locations, and I will check the time. And like, if I roll up on a place and at 9:30 or 9:45, those golden hours in the morning light or evening light, I'll write down the time and the location. I'll take a couple of reference photos to remember what they are, and I'll go back and I'll check it again. And if I get the same effect, then I go paint it. Other times I'm just cruising around and I've got my gear with me in my truck, and it's a French easel. We'll set up in a matter of a minute and I'm ready to go. I'm riding and I see something cool. I'm going, yep, I'm painting that. I pull over.
Oh, that's pretty. We got to bring you down here to Arkansas. Get you. There's the trails around Table Rock Lake that I walk. You would find some inspiration.
I love it. I love it. Oh, thank you, Woody. I appreciate your kind words, sir.
Woody's down here too. He'd meet us at Table Rock Lake. Actually, it's technically Beaver Lake by the time it gets to where I'm at.
That last one I showed, I'm not going to bring it back up, but that was a place called Sproul Bluff. Spelled Spreewell. I don't know how they get the word Sproul out of it, but it's Sproul. But it's a famous, or not famous, it's a popular swimming hole with big boulders and deep lake. And so
we have a river. I think it's the same river. It's the Washita River, but it's Arkansas. And, you know, the French pioneers that became the hillbillies, the first ones knew how to speak French and the second ones knew how to pronounce it. So right. you have the Washita River up in northwest Arkansas, which, you know, is the Ouchita, Washita. And as you get down past Little Rock, you have the Washita River, which is Washitaw.
You better believe it, baby. You better believe
it. Ozark, same way.
Yeah.
I went my entire life not realizing until I drove past the forest. What's this? The AUXARC for Ozark. Oh, it's French. I had no idea.
Yes. I remember the first time it dawned on me that Baton Rouge just meant red stick. You know?
Yeah.
It just hit me one day. I was in Baton Rouge. I was staying down there on business for a couple of months. And just one day I went, baton, stick, rouge, red stick. There's a story here somewhere, but I've never looked it up. So I'm sure there is.
There's gotta be something. There's a special rat in Florida too, around Boca Raton.
Yes.
Oh, Doc, an hour's gone by, and we've had a lot of fun talking and looking at art. I do want to make sure that, you know, we have a real promo stream that's solidly about Mud and Blood. Did I get the title right? I have a feeling I didn't.
Pariah, Mud and Blood, and
okay.
The next one is Pariah, Sanctum of Hate, and then the third one is Pariah, the Garden of Malice.
I like it. I like all three of those titles, so we'll be following you, man.
I appreciate it, RJ.
Thank you so much for coming on the stream tonight.
Oh man, my pleasure.
I've never got to talk with you this long before.
I know we never get to talk, man. We pass each other, coming and going all the time.
Yeah, we're on panels together. You're coming off, I'm going on. We're sitting there talking with somebody else about their stuff. Never get to talk about your own stuff. So
right.
I'm glad we had this opportunity. I'm so glad we had this time together. Showing our age there, man. All right. Thank you again for coming on. Everybody in the chat, thank you for being here. We don't have a show without you watching. I'm just a podcast falling in the woods otherwise. And while you were here, as always, we just hope you had a blast. Good night, everybody.